to the curious, the seekers, and also to the experts, welcome. You're listening to Poli-Psych podcast. Today we are looking at Candace Owens and her brilliant performance before Congress, before a Congressional committee. And with us are Ken, our MBTI specialist. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Cindy.
And Don, our Enneagram specialist. Hello, Don.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Yes, for anyone who is not aware, Candace Owens created some thunder in a congressional hearing this week.
Congressman Ted Lieu played a clip of Candace Owens that was taken out of context, and Candace reacts to that clip. Now, this edited clip is played before the committee, and Candace had some remarks in which she talked about how the clip was deceptively edited.
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Lieu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me was pertaining to whether or not I believed that whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
Smokin'.
Interesting how they launch into this, and I've sort of viewed it as blundering into a war in a way. It was a fascinating exchange between, this is MBTI lingo, the sensing function. Candace was very solid in her perception and stayed with it. Whereas on the other side, we have more of an intuitive value judgment about the tone. And I think it started on that foot. And when I think it was Nadler into sense data, he lost his footing because he wasn't really in touch with the sense data. He was more in touch with the tone and the intuitive he was trying to kind of, put into the media pipeline.
Representing both, I would say, women and African Americans, she probably deserves some kind of a medal, because you could see that she was very stressed. Her respiration was very fast when she was listening to their rebuke, and under this extreme pressure, she was able to think and speak so concisely and so well. I'm kind of in awe.
I thought it was really interesting when she rebuked Chairman Nadler in saying, "That's not what I said at all." He had told her, "You called me stupid," or I'm sorry, "You called a member of the committee stupid." And she said, "No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all." And she was correct. She did not say that. What she said was, "It's obvious that Ted Lieu thinks that black people are stupid." Now, she was not speaking disparagingly of a member of the committee. She was highlighting a member of the committee's disparaging speech concerning Black people, of whom she is one. So this was an attempt to turn the tables on her, which backfired. So they were saying, no, you're being a bad person. And she said, no, it's actually you that's being a bad person. And she had to have a significant reasoning ability and cognitive ability to do that and catch it in action, because a lot of times the mainstream media doesn't catch lets these things like this slip through on purpose, in which a statement like Nadler's would go untouched, where he had said, you will not speak disparagingly, blah, blah, blah. And she picked right up on it very quickly and turned it around. Very adroit.
Yeah, I'd say now I will try to take both sides of the issue, because I think in general tone, there was a confrontational demeanor that was read into the situation, and certainly I agree with this. The content is, Candace is on very solid ground, but I think these Congress people were reacting defensively because all of a sudden they had someone who had seized the narrative, and they were attempting to tamp that down. And I think what he originally, the only interpretation was the very first, I think the first word was a disparaging manner or something like that, which is mildly accurate. But then he strayed off into a huge mistake, really mischaracterizing the whole exchange. And that's really what set off the momentum of the story that's just continued on since then, as a kind of a multiple of misinterpretation, and also on the left side of the equation, a limitation of the sense data that reinforce the intuitive narrative that they're trying to extract from this and put it into the news pipeline.
I'm not sure about Candace Owens' Enneagram type, but I want to lean toward guessing that she might be a mental type, just based on her ability to think on her feet here and to choose the right words in such a stressful situation. This is Congress, and they've had this aura for a very long time of intimidating people, and we've seen this recently with Ilhan Omar, when she really reamed out some guy who I think was part of DHS, if memory serves. Congress is used to being able to have this leverage over people that I'm a congressman and you're not, or a congresswoman, as the case may be. And Candace, although I'm sure that was probably in the background of her, what was going on in her mind, but she was able to process and separate that out, and and stand up to that intimidation. And I really wonder if Nadler was being sincere when he stated that she had accused a congressperson of being stupid, or if he indeed did hear her correctly and just wanted to shut her down and put her on the defensive.
Well, I think the implication would have been that the congressperson would have been stupid if they were stupid enough to believe that the African American community would buy this nonsense. So I think, again, he was sort of shotgunning the tone and inaccurately using the sense data to back that up. But I think the confrontation was sort of baked into the cards before it even started.
Yeah, I think that what I would refer to it as is purposeful conflation that Nadler used. You could describe it as putting in the emphasis on the sense data, because you heard Candace Owens say stupid and you heard her being upset. So she's upset at the people in the committee and she said the word stupid. So what comes across is, and without looking at the reasoning level, without looking at the connection of the points that she's making, it sounds like she's saying you're stupid, which is not what she's saying at all. She's mad at this committee for implying that her people, the black people, are stupid. Now, as far as what Abigail was saying about the Enneagram type, I have some thoughts there, and I have to say, agree that mental type is most likely. This is the person that Kanye West says, I like the way Candace Owens thinks. She's known for her ability to think and to put together coherent arguments on the fly. And I would actually compare her, although she doesn't have as much experience on YouTube as Stefan Molyneux. I think they are very similar, and I would say Stefan Molyneux is probably an Enneagram type 7. And I would say that Candace Owens is most likely a 7. 7s are mental types who are very quick on their feet. 5s are not. Now, 6s can be, but 6s have a deference to authority that would take a 6 a while to overcome, typically. So Candace is probably, in my opinion, a 7, and has studied the issues, knows what she is going to talk about, but is also very able to think on her feet. Now, she might be a wing 6 or a wing 8. I'm not sure which. Either would probably work.
On the MBTI side, a quick survey online shows general consensus on Candace Owens as an ESTJ, which also ENTJ is cropping up. And I think really what we're dealing with is a very well-balanced psyche that's able to kind of adapt to presented. And I wouldn't even dispute that she's possibly ESTP, which would be the same type as Donald Trump. Now, in certain situations, she may have to revert to that level of functioning, but she's got enough facility to be able to kind of adapt in that way. So she presents herself as an extraordinarily balanced person, as Cindy was saying, able to maintain her composure in the face of this just extreme testing that she's being exposed to the same testing, has passed through that. And that's why I'm generally favoring the ESTJ, the strong sensing function and strategic sense. She's able to rebound and punch back, that's a TJ response, not a perceptual response. And does that shed any light on the Enneagram?
Well, I would agree with that in terms of the MBTI. ESTJ makes a lot of sense to me. And I basically have already said my view on the Enneagram piece. I wonder if Cindy has anything to say.
Yeah, I would just, if she is a TP or a TJ, then yeah, she's got the thinking in there. So it's very likely that she would be in the thinking portion of the Enneagram. And just for, going back just for a moment to the stupid comment, the whole context of what was happening here, and it's a 7-minute, 24-second clip, and we only played maybe a minute and a half of it. The context is that her statements are being mischaracterized. That's the whole idea in this clip. Is it starts out with the her being characterized as as nationalism, her stating that nationalism is similar to what Hitler's ideology was. That whole issue, that whole idea was a mischaracterization. And then toward the end here, what we played, her comment was again mischaracterized. So I hope the American people are indeed savvy enough to be able to see this kind of mischaracterization. I think it evidently has been working on us for a very long time, because some of these people have become so deeply embedded in Congress and other aspects of the government. But I hope the American people is developing the ability to spot these kind of mischaracterizations.
I'm not as optimistic, and the reason being the thinking, what MBTI would call the thinking judging type, abhors falsity or false logic. And that would also fall into the category of mischaracterizing actual sense data. So that would really steam up a TJ, and I can relate to that. And the public, the reason we'll never agree is if you're applying a value judgment filter to it, you can discount factual information fairly easily. And we saw that happening throughout this whole exchange, just sort of jumping over the sense data. Well, that's not important because you're a racist, or that's not important because you know, whatever narrative or whatever value judgment you've already predetermined to use as a filter, you can easily, the very thing that the TJ values the most, which is just the core truth, the hard matter, the STJ especially, there's the event, we saw it with our own eyes, and here is the judgment, or this is how I sort my world. And the way you're sorting your world, speaking from terms of the TJ, is abhorrent to my sense of logic. Whereas the FJ will say, well, your logic is abhorrent to my sense of value in this exchange that we're having and why we're having it and all that. So the two sides just never really meet.
Yeah, I have to agree with you that there will be people that will be left behind, and because they are so focused on the feeling aspect of any communication, and they've already determined who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. However, what we're entering into historically here is the counteroffensive by Trump and his administration against the Democrats who have falsely characterized him. And of course, anybody that's on the side of supporting President Trump is, in the eyes of a feeling-oriented person, an F versus a T. They're going to continue to be against Trump, but meanwhile, the legal system has a very T thinking way of getting to the core of things. So I think we're swinging away from F and over to T just on a historical event basis, and a lot of people are going to be left behind. I agree with you.
Yeah. Now, the one thing, this will be my closing comment on this segment, is the values function can vary. Values can be extremely diverse. And here we have, let's take Cindy, for example. INFJ, same type as Hitler. I can't think of two people that are more diverse in their presentation than our Cindy and Adolf Hitler. So values, it really all boils down to what are those values. So in this case, the good news is that of the electorate already has the values, shares the values that Donald Trump stands for. And then we take the sensing thinking group, which is more what Don was mentioning, the actual legal proceedings and so on. And what you end up with is a bigger wedge of support. So going forward, I think we'll always see conflict, but it may start to wear down over time and the values-oriented feelers and sort of bifurcate that portion of the electorate, which I believe is about 60% of the total feelers to thinkers in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Thank you, because I was kind of feeling like I needed to defend the feelers a little bit. Yeah, I think that what happens is, I imagine, and I'm trying to analyze my own responses and speak on behalf of feelers. I believe that feelers become emotionally committed to an idea or maybe even a person, a group. And because there's that emotional commitment, it's very difficult for us to change our minds. However, presented with both evidence, which is valuable, but also probably an emotional reason to change our minds, it is possible for a feeler to change. It can be, speaking on behalf of my own self and things that I've experienced in the past, groups that I realized that I had been very committed to, that I realized were not good at the core. Very emotionally painful process to acknowledge that I have been wrong about something, but not a hurdle that can't be overcome. Don, do you have any parting thoughts before we close?
Oh, just that I think that's valuable experience. And yes, it is a painful, disillusionment is very painful to go through. And I do believe that America, a large percentage of us will have to go through that, and we'll have to be able to reach out and comfort people that we know that are going through this process. And what we don't want to do is say, see, I was right. So it has to be emotional support, because these are people that are hurting emotionally. If you're not able to do that, it's probably best to step away.
An old pastor that at a church I used to attend a long time ago, he used to say that in order to be disillusioned, we must first be illusioned. So may we all be able to release our illusions that are holding us back from the truth. And with that, to the curious, the seekers, and also to the experts, we thank you for joining us for this examination of Candace Owens' appearance before a congressional committee. If you enjoyed our analysis, please click like and subscribe to our channel for approximately one episode per week. Again, thank you and take care.